If is actually what's known as a predicate, and there are in fact other kinds of predicates. This is the regular form of if. So we can specify a condition, if condition, then do something. Note that I've used a comment in this example to show where some code might normally go. At the end of my if, I need to finish with an end. So that then says to the Ruby interpreter that we'll no longer care about what's inside that block. I could also do it in line. So I could do something if condition. It has the same effect, but we make it more concise. Puts it's hot if temp is more than 30. Of course, being an Australian, I'm working in Celsius, so 30 degrees Fahrenheit is not particularly warm. The cousin of if is unless, which is in fact the reverse of if. So we can do the same sort of thing. We can say unless condition, do something. Remember to finish with the end. Or unless can work inline. So once again, we could say puts let's wear a jacket, unless temp more than 30. Actually, unless is just the same as the following. I can say puts let's wear a jacket if, and then I use a special character, an exclamation mark, sometimes known as a bang symbol, to negate my inequality. So this essentially says if not temp more than 30, which of course is the same as if temp less than or equal to 30. All of these possibilities are equivalent. What differentiates the Ruby novice from the Ruby master is knowing which one to use at which time. They often have the same behavior, but they can make code more readable depending on which one you want to use. So we can use else with if. If temp more than 30, puts it's hot. Else puts it's not hot. So similar to the example we looked at previously. You can use else with unless, but you really shouldn't. Like seriously, just don't do it. Makes my head explode when people use else with unless. Let's take a look at this example to see why. So unless temp more than 30, puts it's not hot. Else it's hot. So what that's saying is, unless temp 30 else. Hang on. So else unless temp more than 30. Does that just not throw your brain into a spin? I know it does mine. We would have been much better to describe this using if. How could we get rid of the unless? Let's take a look at this code. Of course, I don't yet have anything assigned to the temp variable, so let's start by doing that. So temp equals 50. So what result should we get here? Unless temp is more than 30. So let's take a look at this in more detail. Firstly, I don't have anything assigned to the variable temp. So let's start by doing that. Say temp equals 50. So what result do I expect here? Unless temp is more than 30, in this case temp being 50, so we're saying unless 50 more than 30, which of course is false. So this is not going to get called. Else puts it's hot. See, already you can see it's quite confusing. Let's refactor this code. Let's say if temp less than or equal to 30 puts it's not hot. This seems more logical and easier to read. So if temp is less than or equal to 30, we can say it's not hot. Else it's hot. So logically that makes more sense. Let's run the code and see what happens. I somewhat foolishly called my code unless.rb, so I'll run it here, ruby unless.rb. And because I set my temperature to be 50, I get the result it's hot. That's the put statement printing it out to the screen. So let's now change temp to equal 10. In this case, we might expect it's not hot to be the case. Let's run it and find out. It's not hot is what's printed in this case. So that's as we expect. There's one more edge case we'd like to try, and that is if the temperature is equal to exactly 30. So because temp is less than or equal to 30, we expect the same result. And of course that's what we get. For this exercise, we're going to create a very simple chatbot. So imagine a version of Siri that you use on your phone, but instead we're going to write it in Ruby. And of course, it won't be anywhere near as powerful as Siri.